You ever watched a film that you just freaking hate? You hate it, but you love it. Like, it gives you goosebumps with how good it is. It gives you shivers with how bad it is. It makes you stressed out. For me, Last Night in Soho is that film.
I could talk about a scene so good, they give me goosebumps even on rewatch. I also don't want to have shits on my shoulders. Where's the whole film for me? Oh, this is awkward. Wasn't ready yet. No. Yes! I wish I had some sort of way of like inviting you on some sort of audiovisual journey of my thoughts and opinions on Edgar Wright's future film.
Oh, wait!
Oh. Hey, video essay time. This portion of the video will not have any spoilers. I'll let you know when they come so you can watch the film and come back or whatever. I'll just let you know when they happen. Where am I jewelry? Back to the blurb. Right. Last Night in Soho is a psychological horror film directed, produced and written by Edgar Wright and co-written by Christy Wilson-Cairns. Cairns. Co-written by Christy Wilson-Cairns. Set in the modern day, it follows young Eloise, played by Thomasin McKenzie, who moves from rural Cornish countryside over to London City to study fashion at UAL. Every night she's transported to the swinging 60s of London and is haunted by Sandy, a singer played by Anya Taylor-Joy, and Jack, her mod manager played by Matt Smith. It had won 101 nominations, 24 awards, namely for Best Sound, Best Horror, Best Film or Television Production, and Best Editing. The movie contains elements of gore, jump scares, stalking, domestic violence, psychosis, sexual assault, heavy sexual tones, and strobe effects, amongst other heavy themes. I wouldn't say it's particularly terrifying, but be sure to check doesthedogdie.com if you have any particular triggers you're worried about. The sound design, visuals, choreography, and portrayal of female existentialism and androphobia are major strengths of the movie, while certain plot points, script, duration of the movie, and overall lack of Edgar Wright's style are widely discussed as flaws. It was hugely anticipated from fans of Wright for a few reasons. He hadn't released any movies since Baby Driver in 2017, and the new movie was advertised as a fully fledged, non-comedic psychological horror drama, with Shaun of the Dead being a parody satire, zombie thriller, and Hot Fuzz a kind of mystery drama with like heavily bawdy tones. He'd come close to the genre of horror, but he remained distant to debuting without comedy or dry humour as like a carrying main theme. In addition to the genre debut, it would also be his first film to pass the Bechdel test with flying colours. In an interview with Empire magazine in 2021, Wright brings up a reader's question he was asked back in 2019. Will you ever make a movie that passes the Bechdel tests? And I said, I have, twice. Shaun of the Dead and Scott Pilgrim passed, but just and only just. I wanted to make a film that would pass the Bechdel test within the first 2 minutes. The reception to this movie is overwhelmingly divisive and mainly negative, mainly regarding the writing and lack of Wright's style, but we'll get into that more later. But first off, last night where? Soho, the setting of the mysterious case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, mentioned in the song Lola by the Kinks, and namesake of Edgar Wright's female lead debut, Soho is the entertainment district of London, England. It's about a square mile and is in the borough of Westminster. A guy called James Scott used Soho as a rallying call to his men in the Battle of Sedgemoor, and half a century later, that's how the area got its name. Oh, thanks. Now for some history. In the Middle Ages, Soho was farmland. By 1536, King Henry VIII bought it and turned it into a park. It became its own parish in late 17th century, and buildings were developed intended for the upper class. Though come the 1680s, what used to be called King Square had now become known as the French Quarter, as many French Huguenot immigrants had settled in. Though the Earl of Leicester and of Portland intended it to be a bougie square for the rich upper class, their plans didn't come to fruition because of the settling immigrants. Okay. Despite that, by 1750, the French Quarter was known as Soho Square and had super fashionable houses on the sides. Jump to 1850 and Karl Marx lays out the principles of the Communist Manifesto in a pub called the Red Lion. 1854, huge cholera outbreak. Jon Snow figures it out. He stops a water pump on Broad Street, well, it's now called Broadwick Street, and everyone gets better. Turns out the water was contaminated with sewage. Now there's a replica of the water pump with no handle to honour Dr. Snow's initiative and as a memorial to this early example of epidemiology. Now we don't get cholera anymore, which is pretty cool. Thanks, Jon Snow. By the 18th century, the population increased a whole bunch. Most aristocracy had moved out, and prostitutes, music halls, small theatres moved in. With 325 inhabitants per acre, this was the most densely populated part of London in 1851. Pre-World War I, rival gangs led by brilliant Billy Chang and Eddie Manning controlled drugs and prostitution in the area. See, most of the 20th century had developed Soho's sex industry, and it became known for its nightlife, red light district, and locations for headquarters of leading film companies. The 1959 Street Offences Act drove sex work off the streets. The following decade witnessed stores becoming fronts and lots of police getting bribed. Members-only clubs opened to get around the law. The 60s in Soho, which is when this movie is set, had a huge music scene. The Rolling Stones, The Who, Jimi Hendrix, David Bowie, The Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Elton John, Queen, and the Sex Pistols performing and recording in various studios and clubs in the square, amongst many, many other artists. There was only a handful of sex shops, but brace yourself. 1976 to 1982 saw a huge burst in sex shops. 54 sex shops, 39 sex cinemas, 16 strip and peep shows, 11 sex clubs, and 12 massage parlours, all squeezed into a square mile. The police force was super corrupt, accepting bribes to remain hush-hush. With the 80s came the fall of Soho's sex industry. It became residential once again, with plenty of flats developed by the 21st century. Sex industry premises dropped from 185 in 1982 to 30 in 1991, due to pressure from the Soho Society, started by locals to control the expansion of the sex industry in the area. Crackdowns on illegal premises and purges of police force didn't help. Today, high levels of air pollution, low levels of parks, green spaces, great access to takeaways, pubs, off licenses, had Soho reported to be the unhealthiest place to live in Britain. Soho remains to be the home of London's entertainment industry, Gay Village, Chinatown, and Red Light District, though it has shrunk and is considerably gentrified.
Spoilers and I. Sweet viewer, the time has come. You may proceed, spoil the film for yourself, or you may turn back. It's not too late. Basically, there's just going to be spoilers ahead, okay? And we'll be mentioning Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Baby Driver. I think that's it. But just letting you know, okay? Feel free to come back once you watch the movies. Ooh.
The film follows 60s enthusiast country girl Eloise, played by Thomasin Mackenzie, as she moves to London to pursue fashion at UAL. Moving into bougie accommodation run by stern old lady Miss Collins, Diana Rigg, every night she has mysterious dreams of a performer named Sandy, Anya Taylor-Joy, who tries to make a name for herself in the big smoke of the swinging 60s. Sandy is acquired by smooth-talking Jack, Matt Smith, who manages her and promises her her every wish should she follow his command. Things take a turn and Sandy's forced to become a sex worker if she wants to be famous. Eloise's mental health declines as she struggles to discern her dreams from reality and develops intense androphobia, which manifests through dark visions, anxiety, and being somewhat abrasive to her well-intentioned classmate John, played by Michael Ageo. Ageo. Eloise sees what she believes to be Sandy's murder, and she reports it to the police, who dismiss her and suggest she reach out for mental health support. She crashes out a few times, nearly attacking her classmate, confronting a customer where she works, who gets into a car crash and probably dies because he's really old. Heading back home in a panic, Ellie announces she's leaving London and returning back home to Kernow. Miss Collins gives a big, eerie monologue and reveals that she is Sandy and that she's a serial killer of all her male patrons. She's also drugged Ellie for some reason and won't allow her to leave. John bursts in an attempt to save his friend, and the old lady stabs him. Anyway. The house goes up in flames, burning Miss Collins and the shadowy ghosts of murdered men, with John and Ellie miraculously saved. Her fashion show is a success, and it's a happy, sappy ending. At 1 hour and 56 minutes, this movie is long! It's nearly 2 hours! It is 2 hours! It kind of does not need to be. It does not need to be. The inciting incidences, they don't start for like the first 20 minutes of the film. Especially because Edgar Wright is fantastic at compressing sequences into these tight little montages that harness quick cuts and zooms and communicate maximum information in minimum time. For example, in Hot Fuzz, Sergeant Angel's move from London to Sanford is shown in 30 seconds. Literally 30 seconds. Ellie's move from Red Roof to London takes about 3 minutes, and nothing of value is communicated except that the taxi driver's a prick. In Hot Fuzz, the journey itself doesn't matter, the change does. This whole scene is just one example of a sequence that is unnecessarily long. Edgar Wright is so good at giving us what we actually need to know. But in this film, it just feels like there's a lot missing in that there's so much included, if that makes sense. So they're literally going the exact same distance. Ellie's going from Cornwall to London, and Sergeant Angel's going from London to Cornwall, and they're communicating in completely different ways. And okay, though I do think his editing style has some essence of humour in it, I feel like there is a way of doing it in a way that isn't focused on the humour of the situation. Because in his films, quick is funny, but there's also funny embedded into the quickness of it. And, there isn't that much humour in Last Night in Soho, but I still think these sequences could have been shortened in a stylish way without the need of humour to sort of make it feel like it fits. The sound design is extremely strong. The effortless fluidity of non-diegetic noise to diegetic is impressive and really satisfying. In the third act, when Eloise and Sandy are running from Jack, before he yells, "Hey!" there's the subtle pre-echo of his voice, and that repeats in time with the music playing, and I love it. I love it. Not only does this effect emphasize the delusional dream state that Elle is under, it implies that this moment has already happened. This foreshadowing of speech is kind of a reminder or a clever flashback. It's used throughout the movie with other dialogue like, "That's a lovely name, kill her, come back here." And I think it's super useful at communicating a paranoid, antsy atmosphere. The repetition contributes to this rising tension, and yet it's subtle enough that it can still go unnoticed and still felt. I think it's also a really fun way of playing with time and dreams and flashbacks and that kind of thing. The juxtaposition of a modern electronic sound design technique like looped reverb combined with classic 60s pop on vinyl record is a great play with perspective of time and technology. Overall, I think the design of the sound is wonderfully strong, with some really great needle drops. However, an iconic Wright staple is his use of punchy songs, meticulously aligned with kinetic visuals. In an interview posted by Studio Binder, Wright says, "I wouldn't write the scenes until I had the song. There's something I've always had in my head of this marriage of music and visuals. Take the scene in Baby Driver, for example. Notice the acute attention to detail? The scenes feel crafted around the songs. In fact, some of them, particularly in Baby Driver, feel as if the song were made for the movie. The choreographing of the visuals with the sound is mind-blowing. It's amazing. And Baby Driver isn't a comedy, but it still does this in a really... It's almost a musical. It's a musical, and I think that's really awesome. There aren't really many sort of scenes of humour in Baby Driver, so I do think his style is still possible to design in Edgar Wright's style, or what we know of it, and make something that's iconic and still lives up to, I don't know, I'm just bullshitting now. In a video with Vanity Fair, Wright talks about how he worked with his editors to sync even the glint of a car's shine with the music. That rich precision and care is what makes his body of work so loved and known. If you've watched Last Night in Soho, then you'd probably be familiar with that lack of punch. I personally find the absence of choreographed audio-visual synchronicity to be quite disappointing. Especially because the main character, she's into music. She's really into music, and so the sound design is really fun, but the design around the sound, I just find it isn't where it could have been. And that makes me really sad. Topic of choreography. There are many scenes where Eloise and Sandy seem to seamlessly just swap places, either through mirrors or on set, and it's most effects were completed practically, so on set with no editing, cuts, camera effects, that kind of stuff, with barely any cuts or post effects. Edgar talks about how in the dance scene, where they could have and usually would have used motion controlled photography, is when the camera has programmed movement, so cuts are identical and you can seamlessly put them in the same place, or have actors double body, whatever, actually all Steadicam shooting. It's both simpler and more complicated than it appears. I believe this is the crux of Edgar Wright's style. His films radiate this essence of effortless execution and witty, quick style, but in fact are far more complicated, detailed, and meticulous than they appear. I don't even know where I'd start if I wanted to choreograph something similar. The dancing sequence is so wonderful, and I wish the rest of the film could maintain this level of like technical creativity. Also, I'm a sucker for a dancing scene, and this moment always takes my breath away. Just everything about it. Oh my god, the song choice, the costume, the set design, the dancing, and oh my god, Jack and Sandy's chemistry is, I love it. Anya Taylor-Joy also talks about how it felt really nurturing and really fun to do so much practical effects. A lot of projects she's worked on haven't really been so hands-on and practical, whereas Edgar Wright is super engaged in that aspect, and he really enjoys doing things on set, impractical. And both actresses mentioned how they had a real sense of nurturing connection with each other. And in the mirror scenes, which were practical effects, and they had these like one-way mirrors, but then like part of them was reflective and then part of them weren't, and see-through and that kind of thing, and they had like body doubles. When they moved, they could only move when the other person moved, and so they had a real deep connection. I think that's really beautiful, and it's really nice to hear actors talk so happily about their experience on set and how choreographing things and figuring things out and being like, I don't understand how this works, like I don't understand what I'm acting for here, I'm in this frame or whatever. I think that's really nice. Taylor-Joy also mentions how she's sat behind the camera a few times. She's like, I don't understand how this is gonna work. And then they watch the playback and it's just like, oh my god, that looks amazing. Oh, I love it so much. I love it. That dancing scene is one of my favorite scenes in cinema. I think it's so genius. And watching the behind the scenes, oh my god, it's so cool. How do you even, where do you even begin to do that? Like, where do you start? It's amazing. It's so cool. I wish the rest of the film could maintain this level of technical creativity. Like, it's just so, it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb because it's so good. My favorite element of the movie is the portrayal of androphobia, which is the fear of men. The looming visuals and the overwhelming dread, knowing you're inferior and are subject to endure society's need to objectify you as a woman or a female individual and see or sell you as a commodity for the rest of your life, an object rather than a person. I think it captures it so beautifully. I think overwhelming dread and terror is the best way to put it. Anyway, it immerses the viewer in Eloise's existential dread really well through visual effects, Mackenzie's raw performance. I really resonated with this uncomfortable, self-aware, irrational yet itchy, terrifying fear. Edgar Wright talks about how he's with Dame Diana Rigg, how they go to visit the set for the first time. She says, oh, it's very good. I remember walking down the stairs and I remember lots of roomy-eyed men looking me up and down and feeling like a piece of meat. And I was thinking, well, that's the whole movie, says Edgar Wright. I just think that's really interesting. It's come from this perspective of how women are perceived and how they feel they are perceived. And I remember watching the movie for the first time and I wanted to cry. During watching it, I wanted to cry because it was so good, and I was just like, this is how it feels. This is how it feels to be female within the patriarchy. This sucks. And I love that I'm watching it. I love that this is embodied in film. Like, I love that I can like sort of watch this manifestation of this like absurd concept that I feel that is embedded in my existence. It's like I've inherited this existence of this is how you'll be perceived, nothing you can do about it, move on with your day, or try. And yeah, I remember just watching it and just being so upset and emotional, just being like, wow, this is amazing. I've never seen this dread and this, like, it feels irrational. There's this self-awareness of being like, this is so irrational. Like, why am I afraid of random men? Why am I afraid of my lovely classmate John? It is so kind and sweet, and he just wants the best for me. I think something about the patriarchy, the nature of the patriarchy is one that profits and encourages and perpetuates stereotypes. And I think there's truth in stereotypes, but there's also, we need to learn, we need to be encouraged to push boundaries and to realize that they don't really exist. They're not guidelines, they're just perceptions. And I think the patriarchy thrives off of us believing that stereotypes are guidelines. Excuse me. But yeah, I love how female existentialism is portrayed in this movie. I think it does such a sublime job. Not just the visuals, it's Thomasin McKenzie's performance. She is utterly stunning. Her terror and her performance is so, like, gut-wrenchingly just... I feel so bad for her when I've watched this film too many times. Thomasin McKenzie's performance it's just never old. In all of those rewatches, it just doesn't, it doesn't go stale. I feel like it embodies something very real. And I think that's why I feel so strongly for her. Anyway, what do I know? Be bisexual, eat hot chip. The twist of the movie. How do we even approach this? You know how I was saying how when I first watched this, I felt like crying? By the end of the film, that feeling had gone away and I was just like, oh, what's happened? What? I was just sad. I was just disappointed. The ending is terrible. The ending is so bad. Having seen the film countless times and watched numerous interviews and behind the scenes and things, the rest of the film is salvageable. The ending, objectively bad. Why does Alexandra kill Ellie? Why does she try to kill John? I understand why she killed her male patrons. She was angry. She was fed up because she wanted to be a performer. Now she's been subjected to a life of sex work. Fair enough. You didn't ask for it. That's not the job you wanted. And then at the end, when the corpses, and so Ellie's trying to run away from Sandy, from Alexandra, and the corpses are like, save us, kill her. Why? What is the moral of the story? What do our characters learn? How is justice served? Where is her justice? If this is a glimpse into the harsh reality of being a woman, specifically in the 60s, but generally just in a male-dominated patriarchal killing all these men, it's just kind of like, oh, she's just kind of crazy. She just kind of went crazy. What is this? I just feel like it's such a flimsy ending. What does it actually, it doesn't mean anything. If the corpses said, we're sorry, oh, it just frustrates me. It just frustrates me because this could have been such a good film. When I watched this for the first time that I felt I had been seen in a way, it felt like my soul had been seen and my deepest fears had been, excuse me, witnessed. I feel like the end is just really terrible. And I don't really know how to phrase that in a way that is better than the end is bad. But I need to, because I've just started a whole video essay, so I need to have some sort of... The motivation for Alexandra feels so thrown in. It's portrayed in a way where it's like, oh, never mind, she's just a bit crazy. Don't mind her. Her madness may be a product of the oppressive patriarchy, but it's presented in a lame and pathetic way that doesn't satisfy the allegory. It just feels thrown in. Ultimately, this is a feminist failure of a movie. The movie ends as it begins. Lifeless, half-assed, weak, diluted, too afraid to commit to anything meaningful, yet covered in glamour and amazing design. I feel like in a lot of Edgar Wright films, the denouement is really satisfying and conclusive and whole and final, and all the ends are tied and all that shit. It's like the ending is too afraid to commit to a meaning. And I think that's really sad, especially for a film that explores femininity, patriarchy, sex work, performance, and like the entertainment industry, you know? Like, I think it's really easy to sort of watch the film and be like, oh, it doesn't need to mean anything. Why can't it just be a horror film about a person who sees a sex worker in the 60s and it's just kind of scary? But the thing is, it goes so much further than that because the portrayal of androphobia, the portrayal of fear and terror and sex work, and you can't really make a film like this and have it not mean anything. I think that's stupid. I think that's dumb. I think that's bad. I think it's objectively bad to make a film with these heavy themes and sort of end it and be like, oh no, it didn't mean anything. The main character's just kind of crazy. And who knows what we mean by crazy? We just mean crazy. Also, that's another thing, mental health, how the mental health was portrayed in the film. Eloise does not need to have like a background of poor mental health. I don't think she needs it. So, you know, her mum died of suicide, and so Eloise sees her mum in the mirror all the time, and that's where we get this sort of motif of her seeing Sandy in the mirror. But I think that just confuses things. I think it's unnecessary. I don't think it works. I do like the motif of mirrors in the movie. I love mirrors. I love mirrors as a concept, as a visual technique. But I don't really know, it's not really clear what it is either, because it's so irrelevant, and I just feel like it doesn't, maybe it's like a sympathy card for her, and we're supposed to feel bad for her in some way. I don't think it's unnecessary that her mum died. I just don't think it's important that she should have like inherited this vague disorder. Oh wait, no, but it's kind of necessary because then as a viewer you're not entirely sure if it's supposed to be, if it's reality or if it's her sort of psychosis. Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. She does need some, it works in her favour that she has some level of psychosis, because then it makes her story with Sandy more unreliable. She's a more unreliable narrator. However, the story itself is already gripping without that, I think, and I don't think it needs that to back it.
Overall, I think it's just a very upsetting ending to an otherwise decent film. I'd say it's debatable over how much of the film is kind of like wasted and like how much of it is put to good use. Because it does feel like a lot of the film isn't up to its full potential. But you know, otherwise, what could have been a really powerful ending, and to be honest, I'm not really sure how it should have ended, but I just know it shouldn't have ended how it did. It's just let the rest of the film down. It's really upsetting, if you ask me. Sorry, I have to go for a walk because I feel really ill right now. Get some fresh air, see the sun a bit, and you know. Overall, it's a feminist failure of a movie. If it doesn't fully commit to being a story with a sort of message to deliver, it doesn't have anything to say, and that's really sad because films can say a lot of things, and God, I feel so ill right now. I feel so weird. Overall, it's a film that could have been directed by anyone, and I think that's the saddest thing about it, is there's nothing particularly unique about the film except from perhaps the budget and the location and the sort of practical effects. But what makes it different to any other film, any other horror movie with a female lead? Like, I don't know. I don't think there is anything that's so striking about it. But apparently there is, because I've spent years thinking about this movie, and I just can't figure out how I truly feel about it, and it's getting to me, man. It's really getting to me. I don't know what to do. I feel so ill. Oh my God. I need to get home.
Writing and performances. Well, let's start with the good stuff. The chemistry between the cast is fantastic. John and Ellie are ever so wholesome. John's unwavering support of Ellie and her erratic and sometimes cold behaviour is tender and authentic. I agree, Liliana. Michael Ayer does a simply far-out job of being a supportive, genuine friend of Thomasin Mackenzie, and she does a sublime job of portraying panic and stress in such a beautifully disturbed way. I really think her performance is stellar. Absolutely. Her tearful, quiet, and timid moments speak just as loudly as her angered outbursts. However, some people believe that her character deserves more fleshing out or purpose. Well, sock it to me, Liliana. Well, Liliana, I believe her character is brought to life through fantastic performance and has an intense and rather gripping screen presence. Indeed, Liliana. Sandy and Jack's first encounters are so fiery and passionate. Like, damn, they hit it off so good. Their dynamic together throughout the picture is intoxicating. Even when Jack is using and abusing her, their interactions are hard to look away from. Anya Taylor-Joy's performance is fantastic. She absolutely oozes Twiggy or Audrey Hepburn. That said, I do believe some dialogue is poor and mostly forgettable, which lets some performances fall slack. Dialogue isn't witty or punchy. The characters don't use classic 60s accents or vernacular, which is a major disappointment for a period drama. Unless, of course, Liliana, you count Matty or Anya's natural British accents. In fact, Mackenzie's a Kiwi, and her Cornish accent is particularly flawless. But otherwise, it's all show and no go. What a hairy situation, Liliana. Right on, Liliana. That's all for tonight. Join us on Thursday for an evening with Cilla Black. Next week, we head off to Liverpool for a special evening with the Fab Four. I'm Liliana. And I'm Liliana. For all your entertainment digest, you know where to come to. Good evening. Good night. The weather every day is just always changing. Yes.
Hey guys, sorry. I feel really sick, so I'm gonna do the rest of this video in bed, if that's okay with you. It's okay. We will get on with the video. It's all good. Style and Edgar Wright. Wright is known for his tight and clever dialogue that never misses a beat. Whipping quick-shot camera movements, his iconic music and visual ensemble, running gags, fleshed out and, real characters. An iconic, British feel. None of his iconic flair is in this screenplay. A lot of people feel that this production feels plastic and has lost any trace of Wright's auteur directions. For a couple years now, I've considered Edgar Wright to be my favourite director, says James on Letterboxd. What the fuck happened? The direction and editing here is shockingly lifeless. It feels like anyone could have made this. This feels genuinely amateur in places, both on its own and especially in comparison to Wright's other spotless filmography. In this film, Wright loses his entire sense of celebrated style. Oh, I feel so gross. Oh my god. Oh, excuse me. I think promoting this movie as an Edgar Wright production is a misnomer and it's misleading. Excuse me. And I just think overall it's a bad film. Liliana, what are you doing? Why are you holding a knife?
Come to finish the job. Looks like the poison didn't work.
The poison? Is that why I feel so ill? What are you talking about?
You're gonna regret being so opinionated.
Oh.
You see, Liliana,
The fuck are
you
you
must kill
doing?
the part of you that criticizes and categorizes art however you see fit.
Whoa! Whoa! That's the important parts there. Just because Edgar Wright's movie doesn't live up to your expectation of what he should produce, that doesn't mean he's flopped or fallen off or a bad filmmaker. Maybe you're a bad audience member. People like you are responsible for making creative fields hostile and scary for new and old artists. What's the matter with you? Why'd you do all that for? Art is about expression, not profit. Not sticking to one style because your so-called fans prefer it. You should be ashamed. You repulse me. Oh, darling,
You've got red on you, my love.
Move.